I recently received several thoughtful comments from a Muslim viewer, and unlike many comments I receive, I think these deserve a careful response. First, I want to summarize his position fairly. His first point is that human beings are like students who need a teacher. We are created, limited, and ignorant, while God is uncreated and all-knowing. Therefore, it makes sense that humanity would need divine revelation. Second, he argues that my question, quote, "Why is God so hidden?" was answered over 1400 years ago in the Qur'an. He quotes verses saying that people become preoccupied with worldly affairs and fail to reflect on the deeper purpose of creation. From his perspective, the problem is not that God has failed to reveal himself. The problem is that people refuse to recognize the signs already in front of them. Third, he argues that every religion encouraging people to be good does not make those religions true. Islam, he says, is true for reasons separate from its moral teachings. Finally, he quotes another passage from the Qur'an where people demanded miraculous proof, such as an angel descending from heaven. According to the passage, even if an angel had been sent, people would still not have believed, because God would have caused the angel to appear as a man. His conclusion is that God revealing himself in the dramatic way I asked for misunderstands how revelation is supposed to work. I appreciate these comments because they're engaging with my actual position rather than simply dismissing it. But I think they reveal what I consider to be the central disagreement. The disagreement is not whether the Quran contains an explanation for God's hiddenness. The disagreement is whether I have sufficient reason to believe the Quran is God's word in the first place. Suppose someone hands me a book. Inside that book it says, "This book comes from the creator of the universe." Later it says, "The reason God appears hidden is... My immediate question is not whether the explanation is internally consistent. My question is much simpler. Why should I believe this book actually comes from God? Appealing to the Quran to explain why God is hidden assumes the very thing I'm trying to determine. That's the question under dispute. Now I want to zoom out. Islam asks me to accept an astonishing picture of reality. It tells me that the creator of the universe communicated with humanity. An angel named Gabriel delivered revelation. Jinn exist alongside us. Satan whispers into human minds. Moses split the sea. Jesus performed miracles. The moon split. Muhammad traveled on a miraculous night journey. Every action I perform is recorded by angels. There's heaven, there's hell, there's divine judgment. That is an extraordinarily supernatural worldview. Now here's my question. What is the evidence? Ultimately, I'm handed a book, a physical book, written in a human language, copied by human beings, read by human beings, preserved through human history. When I hold the Quran in my hands, I'm holding something that appears physically to be an ordinary book. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying the Quran is not beautifully written. I'm not saying Muslims do not find it inspiring. I'm not saying it has not influenced history. My point is different. The claims are extraordinary. The evidence appears ordinary, and I think that distinction matters. If someone tells me that the creator of the universe has finally spoken to humanity, I naturally expect the evidence to rise to that level of claim. This leads to an obvious question. Well then, what evidence would convince you? That's a fair question. First, I don't claim to know every possible way an all-powerful God could reveal himself. If God exists and possesses unlimited knowledge and power, then he could devise forms of evidence I have not even imagined. But I can certainly describe the kind of evidence I would expect. I would expect something so far beyond ordinary human experience that no reasonable natural explanation could compete with it. For example, imagine if every copy of the Quran possessed a property that no ordinary object could possibly possess. Suppose every sincere person who opened the Quran instantly read it perfectly in their own native language. An English speaker reads flawless English. A Japanese speaker reads flawless Japanese. An Arabic speaker reads flawless Arabic. A child reads at their own level. An illiterate person suddenly understands every verse without learning to read. No translation, no software, no interpretation. The book itself adapts instantly to every human being who opens it. That would be extraordinary. Or imagine if every copy of the Quran regenerated itself after being destroyed. burn it, cut it apart, throw it into the ocean, the pages simply reappear intact before everyone's eyes. Again, I'm not saying God must perform one of these exact miracles. These are illustrations. The point is that if the creator of the universe truly wanted humanity to recognize his final revelation, I would expect the evidence itself to be unmistakably beyond anything human beings can naturally produce. Instead, what I observe is something very different. I observe a world that behaves according to consistent natural laws. I observe gravity, biology, chemistry, psychology, astronomy. When people become sick, we study medicine. When lightning strikes, we study electricity. When someone hears voices, we investigate the brain before concluding angels or jinns are involved. The world I experience looks remarkably ordinary, yet the worldview I'm being asked to accept is profoundly supernatural. That gap is the reason I remain unconvinced. This isn't because I dislike Islam, it's not because I refuse to believe in God, and it certainly is not because I think asking questions is somehow virtuous in itself. It's because I believe an extraordinary worldview deserves extraordinary evidence. The Qur'an may contain explanations, it may contain beautiful language, it may inspire billions of people. But before I accept that it truly comes from the creator of the universe, I need evidence that stands in proportion to that breathtaking claim. Until then, I think the simplest explanation remains the one that best fits the world I actually observe. A world that consistently appears to operate through ordinary natural processes rather than an openly supernatural one.